Happy New Year! Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Who Cares? And for those of you watching this, you can see that the chair next to me is empty because I have no guests this week. This is my first ever, and maybe first only, depending on how this goes, solo episode of Who Cares? There's no guest here. I genuinely have no idea how this is going to go. I'm a little nervous about it. I went back and forth multiple times on like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And I came to the realization of who cares? Just do it. See if anybody has some questions. You have a couple things that you want to talk about. And I think it would be just a really fun way to try something different. You know, that is what this podcast is just an exercise in me getting out of my comfort zone, trying to lean into some of my strengths, but also trying to lean into some of my fears. And so this is another way to do that. So, quick setup for the episode. I'm going to talk a little bit more about me, which is something that I'm uncomfortable doing, but I have a podcast, so that's kind of the point, right? I've asked for listeners to submit questions, and I've gotten some good ones here so that I can dive into a little bit more of the topics that you're interested in, answer some of the burning questions that you have about some of my experiences. And then I also wanted to take some time to just kind of dive into the new year, recap the year that just happened, and play around with some thoughts that I have in my head. So, yeah, the holidays. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope that your Christmas and Hanukkah and all of the other holidays that fit in there were good for you. I got to spend time with my family, which was really nice. Last year, I was alone for Christmas and New Year's in Argentina, and that was kind of a big bummer and started 2025 off on a very not great note. But I wasn't completely alone. I did have some friends in Argentina that I spent time with, and I love them very much for that. But I was very grateful this year to spend time with my family, my sister and my niece and nephew and my dad and my stepmom, and then I got to spend some time with my mother, and that was really, it was just really nice. I also want to take a second to just thank all of you for listening and downloading and liking these episodes. If you haven't figured it out by now, like I recorded all the episodes in a batch and then have been releasing them way after the fact. So there hasn't been any episode where I've like been able to reflect on this being out in the world yet. So this is the first time that I can tell you like the podcast is out in the world. People are listening to it. I'm blown away by anybody that's listened to it. You know, we're far from the biggest podcast in the world and probably never will be, but it has been overwhelmingly amazing to just know that people care enough to listen to this. You could be listening to anything else. There's a million podcasts to listen to, and you've been listening, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. There are people that I never expected to listen to this that have been coming up to me or messaging me and saying that they enjoy the episodes. And it just really means a lot to me, and I hope that this is only the beginning and we can keep growing this and doing this for a long time. If you do like this podcast and you are enjoying these episodes, if you haven't already, please go like, follow, comment, leave a rating, share it with others, whatever you can do to help the show. Like all of that stuff helps. So go do that if you can. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, it means a lot to me. Thanks, guys. I mean it. This has not been an easy thing for me to do and to put out in the world, and to have people react to it and listen is a huge thing for me. So thank you. So it is the new year, and 2025 was one of the hardest years of my life. Absolutely. I struggled immensely in 2025, starting with ending a 5-year relationship, my longest and best relationship that I've ever been in. And there's a ton of grief and growth that came from that. And I'm really proud of myself and of Mary, my partner at the time. We handled it really, really well with a lot of love and compassion for each other. We ended it very amicably. We are, working on maintaining a friendship so that, we can stay a part of each other's lives throughout the years. She's one of the best friends I've ever had, and there's so much of who I am today that I wouldn't be without her and without the experiences that we shared together. And ending that relationship was really difficult, and it's been quite a journey navigating life on my own. And, we were living in Argentina. We decided to end the relationship. I moved back from Argentina, and that was a really difficult adjustment for me. I lost some close friends that I was kind of expecting to come and be like thrown back into my social circle, and that kind of wasn't there. And then I immediately got laid off from my job. So that was fantastic. Just like another kick me while I was down moment. And then to top it all off, I am a hockey player, and I went back to playing hockey as soon as I got here, and I had a really bad head injury. It was my second concussion in a year, and it just sent me into some really negative and dark places. I lost vision in my left eye. I had horrible migraines. I couldn't sleep. I started to experience really bad depression. And so the last 6 months were just like some of the hardest that I've been through. And yeah, during this year, I questioned like my faith. I questioned my ability to keep showing up. I was filled with so much doubt and just pain, and it was really rough, y'all. It was really, really rough. And I had to lean on some of my friends more than ever, and I couldn't have done this without them. All of you that have been there for me through this experience, if you're listening, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I can't even put into words how grateful I am and in debt to my friends that have shown up and stuck around and called. And this world is not a world that we're supposed to be trudging the road alone. And never has that been more evident to me than when I was in such a low place. And so 2025 for me can firmly kick rocks, but that's enough negativity. There were some really good things that happened in 2025 as well. I made incredible friends when I was in Argentina that I'm still close with today. They asked some questions that I'll get to later. I spent 2 weeks in Patagonia in southern Chile, which was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, and just kind of reminded me how absolutely incredible this planet is and how beautiful nature can be. If you haven't been to Patagonia or Chile, I highly recommend, or Patagonia on the Argentine side. Like, they're both great. But I've only been to the Chilean side. I also, through all of that, I started this podcast. And to tell you how hard that was to do these first episodes and to do all of this stuff with the symptoms that I was going through with the concussion, like trying to push through interviews when I hadn't slept or was having a horrible migraine, but I had scheduled it and couldn't reschedule. And it was hard. It was really hard. And there was so much, I've talked about it a lot on here, but imposter syndrome and the voice telling me, don't do it. Like, just, give up. I had to work really, really hard to push through that and to put this thing out in the world. And I haven't really talked about that on here, but the last, the first 7 episodes of this podcast were recorded while I was in the midst of very serious post-concussion syndrome, and I did it anyways. And I look back on some of them and I'm like, oh my God, I was just like thinking so slowly and I wasn't asking the best questions. And so it's like the fact that I've been able to do a good enough job to where some people like this while in that state, I'm really proud of that. And I know that as my symptoms continue to get better, like I'm just going to become better at hosting this podcast. So that's really cool. Because I can't play hockey anymore, I started playing pickleball, and I discovered a really new, fun community here in Austin that is, it's one of the highlights of my week. I'm really getting into it. I love to compete. I miss hockey more than anything in the world. I skated for the first time in 7 months since my injury 2 weeks ago. It felt so good to be on the ice, but I cannot compete again anytime soon because I can't hit my head again. And that is a big loss for me. So doing that has been really great. Pickleball, I'm super into it. I thought it was super nerdy and lame to do pickleball, but I'm here to tell you, like, it is all that it's cracked up to be. So if you're thinking about joining pickleball, get into it. If you're in Austin, hit me up. I can give you, you can come play with me. I'll give you all the details. So that was my 2025. Pretty wild, pretty crazy, a lot of growth, a lot of fear, a lot of grief, a lot of pain, but there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot that I learned and a lot of things that I think as I emerge from the wreckage of this last year, I'm feeling really good coming into 2026 and feel like I gained a lot of perspective. And I got some questions about this, so I will talk about the head injury stuff a little bit more later. But I just wanted to say that out loud and like be honest with my listeners that like you haven't been seeing me at 100% because I've been not at 100%. And I've been doing this anyways because that's just what I do. Like I have to keep moving forward even when I don't feel good. So thank you so much again for listening and liking these episodes. It still feels so surreal to have this out in the world and to have people coming up to me and asking me about it, people listening and people connecting, and it's just been fantastic. Before we jump into listener questions, I want to read a little something. My mom got me this book for Christmas. It's called The Pivot Year by Brianna Weist. I think that's how you say her name. Brianna Weist. And this is just really beautiful. And I want this is a great passage. This is the introduction to the book. It's pretty short, but I think it's a great thing to listen to and reflect on to start this year. Because for me, my wish for you is that this year is the year that you start figuring it all out. And so here it is. I hope this is the year you change your life. Not in the superficial way, not in the way of moving things around on the surface and wondering why nothing feels much different underneath. Not in the way of conformity, not in the way that aligns you most closely with all of the traditional emblems of success, the ones that leave you smiling beside your accomplishments but feeling so pinched with guilt and regret. I hope this is the year you change your life in the ways you have always secretly wanted to. The year you discover those quiet dreams that have lingered for so long are actually echoes of parallel lives, sister stories asking you to tell them, to leap toward them, to move them out of your mind and into a touchable, physical reality. I hope that this is the year that you change your life in only the way you can, with the power that only you have. I hope each day makes you take pause and contemplate what invisible third door of possibility you may have missed. I hope you are not afraid to go inward, the space from which your entire life is born. I hope this is the year you stop dancing around the perimeter of who you intended to be and of what you came here to do. I hope that this is the year you learn to defy what's reasonable and build sense in a world of your own design. I hope that this is the year you discover that the floor does not only hold up if you remain where you are, but with each step you take And wherever you may go, it will rise to meet you as it always has and as it always does. I hope that this is the year you realize everything. Every last thing in your life will happen with much more ease if it is in alignment with your soul's true intent. I hope this is the year you begin to unearth those truths from inside of you. I hope that this is the year you find the boldest, bravest kind of courage. And I hope this is the year you walk fiercely into the life that was always meant to be yours. Thanks, Mom, for getting me this book. And I hope all of those things are true for you in this year. All right. So now we're going to get to some listener questions. This first question comes from Lauren. And I'm going to do a little segue here. I'm not going to do this on every one of these questions, but Lauren is an incredible person. We worked together in a restaurant 17 years ago. I was 27 or something like that, working as a bartender in a restaurant, and she was a hostess. She was still in high school, and we became friends. And I thought she was just like such a cool person. She was so inquisitive and thoughtful and just carried herself really well. And a few years ago, we, connected on social media. She is now a competitive bodybuilder, and she is just doing amazing things. She's still this incredible person, and she is one of our most active listeners of this show, which was a huge surprise to me because I'm like, there's the people that listen to the show where I'm like, oh, they're in my life on a daily basis, and they, I kind of almost expect them to listen because they know me, but Lauren, you didn't have to listen to these episodes. You don't have to continue listening to these episodes. You're listening because you were curious and you found something that you really like. And that right there is exactly why I wanted to make this podcast. And so thank you so much for listening. It's super neat to me that we're like connected now in this weird way still after all these years. So Lauren has a couple questions. I'm going to read those to you now. So the first one is, I'm interested in your experience as a tour manager. What exactly does a tour manager do? And was it challenged to be on the road a lot, not having a routine, etc.? So great question. Tour managing is one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I miss it so much till this day. I still have so many good friends that I've made. But a tour manager is essentially the CEO of a tour. They are in charge of renting the buses and the trucks and the lighting equipment and the hiring the personnel, the front of house mix engineer, the monitor engineer, backline techs, guitar techs, merch people, lighting techs. There's a big crew that goes, and every tour is different, and every tour has a different amount of personnel, but you're in charge of all of that stuff, and then you're also in charge of managing the day-to-day of the artist that you're on the road with. And so there's budgeting, there's accounting, there's logistics, travel, hotels, all of that stuff is handled by the tour manager, or on some bigger tours, like you have an assistant tour manager, or you have a production manager and a tour manager. And so the jobs kind of get split because the jobs get bigger and bigger. Like if you're doing an arena, the tour manager can't do it all. So you have to split everything out, and the budgets are bigger and things. But the tour manager is the dad of the tour, or the mom of the tour. And yeah, it's such a cool job. It pulls from all of my strengths and all of my experience. And I truly love it. It's a very stressful job. You sleep very little. The days are, 12, 14-hour long days. You're gone for 30 to 60 days at a time. There is a routine on tour. Tour is very much like Groundhog Day. You wake up in a new venue and in a new town, but you do the same things every day. You're just like creating them in a different space. Like, oh, now today's office is a huge dressing room, and tomorrow's office is a tiny broom closet underneath the stairs of a leaky venue in Montreal. And so it's so much fun being on the road, but it is really difficult. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't gone back to touring after 2020. COVID is when I was on the road when that happened and got pulled off, and have kind of segued into some other things career-wise. But I still miss tour managing. I still, fantasize about going back out on the road and being out with a good crew and a good band. And so I don't say that I won't do it again, but I will say that it is so difficult to have all the things that I actually want to have in my life and to have that job, which is a healthy routine, working out on a regular basis, a big sense of community, showing up consistently and regularly with my people. And then eventually, I'm single at the moment, but, I do want and desire to have, a meaningful long-term relationship. And those are really difficult when you're in the touring industry. It happens. There are a lot of really great touring professionals that are married or have, significant others, but it takes a very special person to date somebody or marry somebody that is gone 6 months out of the year. So it's hard to find your person in general, but it's even harder to find your person that is also willing to have that kind of lifestyle. So it's something that I might do again, but I hope that answers your question. Like I said, Lauren's a bodybuilder. She knows that I'm into training. She asks, tell us about your training. What is your split? What are your favorite and least favorite exercises, lifts? Morning gym person or evening gym person. So I love fitness. I've played hockey my whole life. I am a certified personal trainer, although I do not train people and I do not have clients. It's not something that I got in order to do it as a job. I did it because I wanted to have all of the knowledge of a personal trainer, like me being the fiercely independent person that I am that doesn't want anyone's help. I was like, I'll just learn how to help me, So I work out a lot. My training is way different than Lauren's. I'm not bodybuilding or anything like that. So currently I'm doing a mix of yoga and strength training. I tend to do, back and bis one day, legs and shoulders another day, chest and triceps another day. My least favorite exercise is probably running. I hate running. I try to make myself run. I've tried to be a runner multiple times. I just hate it. I can skate all day long. Like, I love cardiovascular, being exhausted. I love being on the Aerodyne bike and just completely gassed. But I don't like running. And I keep trying to make myself like running. And I don't know when I'm going to ever stop and just say, no, dude, you don't like running. But in my mind, as somebody who's fit, I feel like I have this story that I'm telling that I have to be good at running in order to consider myself be a fit person. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's dumb. But that's what I do. I also hate pull-ups, but I do them pretty often. But I hate them. They annoy me, but I can never tend to get over like the 8 pull-ups in a row mark. Like, I can do multiple sets of 8, but I've never been able to I can't do 15, 20, 30 pull-ups. Like, I don't know. That's just my thing. And I'm morning or afternoon person 100%. Evening does not work for me. Also, it's like the most crowded time unless you go way late. And if it is way late, then I'm tired and I can't put up any gains and I can't really do good sets. So definitely morning or afternoon. Right now, I usually go for lunchtime is when I work out the most. One more question from Lauren. What was it like living and working outside of the U.S.? What did you miss from home? What did you not miss? And would you do it again or go somewhere else? So living and working outside of the U.S. was awesome. I will say, like, right now, it's never been more popular to be a digital nomad and to get out there and be on your laptop and live in different countries. I can tell you that in my experience, it is very lonely and isolating. I did it with a partner. Like, there were 2 of us, so I always had somebody, but like finding the kind of community that I'm interested in was very difficult. Everybody that you do meet that's English speaking is transient, and if they're, despite how much effort I put into learning Spanish, I am not fluent enough to, make close friendships with people that are 100% Spanish speaking, because I'm just not fluent and conversational, and I can't have the types of conversations or be funny or sarcastic in another language. Like, I can get around town and I can, ask for what I want on a menu and things of that nature, but having deep, meaningful conversations I couldn't do. But it was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I fell in love with Mexico. I fell in love with Argentina. They will always be, a piece of home to me. I saw and did so many incredible things and have met really incredible people, but I missed home a lot. I really did. One of the biggest things I missed from home is just like community and friends, but I also really missed, and this is embarrassing to say, but I really missed grocery stores here in the U.S. We have the best grocery stores in all of Central and Latin America, like hands down. Like, we just have an overabundance of food and quality food, and I don't think Americans realize how good they have it. Like, even the best grocery stores in the heart of Mexico City, which is like an incredible city, incredible food city, like the quality of the produce and the quality of the goods that you're getting in the grocery store, and the variety is very small. So like a grocery store like H-E-B here in Texas is, I mean, it's everything. It's so hard to beat. And like not being able to get good quality yogurt and not being able to get good quality like protein powder and like healthy snacks to take on the go. Like, it's a lot more challenging. And it's, even in Argentina, like Argentina has don't have a ton of imports, so you can't get name brand foods that you get in the US, and oftentimes you can get health food, but it's like you have to go to like 6 different stores to get what you need. Like, they're not all in the grocery store. So it's different. We are very spoiled here, and I missed being spoiled. Would I do it again? Yeah, I would. I wouldn't do it right now. I'm definitely in a phase of my life where I want to be in Austin, Texas, and I want to be here and I want to plant some roots. But I could see myself, especially in retirement, going back to Mexico or a similar place. I'm one of those people. I wish that I could live in every country. I really do. I wish that I could spend time in every single country, prolonged time, get to know it like it's my neighborhood. But as I talked in my last episode with Mitchell Cohen, like, you can't do everything. You have to make a decision. You can't spend your life traveling if you also want to build community and plant roots. So I have to choose. And I think I made the really hard decision this year to choose being here, being home in the U.S. And I think that was the right decision for me. So thanks for your questions, Lauren. Brent, hey, buddy. Brent says, do you feel fully recovered from your head injuries? I do not feel fully recovered from my head injuries yet, but I do feel I'm about 75 to 80%, which is huge for me because I was at like 30% most of the summer, and it felt like it was never going to end. So I'm still having some issues. I still have some headaches. I'm still having a lot of really bad ringing in my ears, which is relentless sometimes, and, still struggling with problems with sleep. But it's so much better than it was. Like, it's very manageable, and I feel like I can actually live my life. And Brent also says, how did the experience, injury, and recovery affect your overall perspective? Man, I can tell you right now that, like, I never understood how powerful the brain could be when it's not working the way that it's supposed to be. It was literally mind-blowing how different my perception and my reality became with this head injury. And I don't know if you've ever had a head injury before, any of you that are listening, but like, it is wild. I've been injured so much in my life. I've had multiple knee surgeries. I've had hip surgery. I've broken things. I've dislocated things. this was a whole nother level of, just, world shifting. It was world shifting for me. And there were days that it didn't feel like it was going to ever end. And it made me realize how lucky I am to be healthy when I am healthy. And I really missed being healthy, and having a clear head and a clear mind. I missed that a lot. And so, it made me appreciate parts of my life that I think that I had glossed over. It's just like, that was kind of a boring, time. It's like, it was boring, but my head was clear and my ears weren't ringing and, my head, I didn't have all these headaches. And so, it just gave me a lot of perspective on my life and about what things are important. And I'm going to focus a lot more on those. So keeping with the same thing, my buddy Rob, what's up, Rob? Rob edits all the reels for us. He was my business partner at Late Morning Films. We made movies together. He's a brother to me. He's also one of the people who's like really been there for me during this process. But Rob asks, do you have any recommendations to get through the dark moments? And for me, as I've already said, there were a ton of dark moments this year, but you have to keep moving. Like, it's like in the Never-Ending Story when he's in the bog and the horse stops and starts stinking and you can't get the horse out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's like when, depression really sinks in on you. If you stop moving, it's going to swallow you whole. And by moving, I mean both like actually moving your body, get outside, go for a walk, even when you don't want to, go to the gym, even when you don't want to, but also keep moving forward. It's why I had to put this podcast out, even though I wasn't ready to, and I didn't feel 100% mentally there. Like, I had to do the things, because if I just sat there waiting to feel better, it would have engulfed me. And the other thing is, like, reach out to people. Let people know that you need them. Tell them that you're lonely. Tell them that you're sad. Tell them that you need somebody. Not everyone, some people don't like to be around people that are not doing well, and they'll bail. They really will. That's just how it is. Some people are like that. But some people won't. Some people will be like, hey, I got you. I've been there. Somebody was there for me, so I'm going to be there for you. So be honest about where you're at, and don't be afraid to pick up the phone and ask for help, and let people know, like, hey, I'm struggling and I just need to talk to somebody right now. So I hope that helps, Rob. These next ones are coming from my buddy Michael, who's in Iceland. He's somebody that I toured with. Incredible dude. Whenever he's in Austin, I'm going to have him on this podcast. You're going to love him. But shout out, brother. I miss you. So Michael says, do you have any regrets from your touring days? I don't have any regrets from my touring days. I have some regrets. There are a couple artists that I worked with that I didn't fully show up as myself. Like, I think it's really difficult as a tour manager. You're constantly in a service mindset, and like, you're in charge. And so, like, in one degree, like, all of the crew are kind of under the tour manager, and the tour manager is like the boss. And so it's like, what I say goes, right? And it's like not really a dictatorship in that sense, but those that have been on tour kind of know this. Like, it's different than in the corporate world. The tour manager really is calling the shots, and they're meant to be laying down the law to a degree. And so you're kind of in charge of everything that happens. And then you have the artist, and the artist is really the boss. They're really in charge, but oftentimes they're the least aware of all of the work that has gone on behind the scenes for a day. And there are a couple artists that I worked with that I did not do a good job being of service to them. I tried to tell them what to do and like get them to fall in line with the plan. and I wasn't as malleable to what their needs were, and I had to learn that the hard way, like it's a really hard, difficult line to cross when you are doing all of this work to set something up for the artist, and then they come in and they're like, oh, I don't like this. And you're like, well, for me, I was like, well, too bad. We spent a lot of money on it and we've been working on this for 2 weeks. And they're like, yeah, well, do something different, completely different in 1 hour. It's hard to be like, cool, let's do that for me. So I do regret not doing as good of a job being of service in that role with a couple artists. But other than that, I don't regret anything about touring. Touring was one of the best things I ever did. And like I said in the earlier questions, like I still miss it every single day. It was isolating and it did make life at home way harder, but it's the best job I've ever had. And I wouldn't know you, Mike. Michael also asks, do you have any spiritual practices in your day-to-day weekly routine? I do have spiritual practice. Yoga is part of my spiritual practice, but in the mornings, with my coffee, I will read either the Tao Te Ching, one page of that, and then kind of meditate on it, or I will read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius and meditate on that. Those are two of my big things. And I like having a daily reader to kind of set my intentions for meditation. And then I pray a lot. I pray to a God that I don't understand and can't put a name to, but I do pray a lot, and that's really helpful for me. And then Michael asks, what are the 5 most impactful albums of your life? This is a really difficult question, and I am going to give you 5 albums. I don't know if they're all the 5 most impactful, but they're the 5 albums that came to mind. One of them is definitely the most impactful album of my life. So the first one I put down is Steve Miller Band's The Joker. This was one of my dad's favorite records, and I just remember as a kid listening to this record. It's a fantastic record. It obviously has their hit single, The Joker, on it, but it has some bangers on it that you've probably never heard, like Shibata do Mama Mama with a bass solo by Bootsy Collins. This is a fantastic record. It got me into rock and roll music. I loved it as a kid. I know every song, every word. Nirvana, Nevermind. This is a no-brainer. I don't know anybody from my generation that was into rock music that wouldn't put this album on their top 5 most impactful albums of all times. At that time, you never heard anything like it. It was incredible. It sounded like it came from the heavens. It changed everybody. It changed everything. It changed music. It changed all of us. We all were wearing flannels and trying to be Kurt Cobain. Yeah, that album for sure. The album that changed my life more than any album on the planet is Metallica, Master of Puppets. I remember exactly where I was when I heard it. I was skipping school. I went over to my friend Jeff Holbert's house. We smoked a joint, and he's asked me if I'd ever listened to Metallica, and I said no, and he put this album on, and it was life-changing. It's what catapulted me into liking heavy metal music. It's the reason I became the singer in a heavy band. That album, more than anything, changed my life. The next one, these next 2 are like 2 of my favorite albums that are a little bit left of center of what you think I might say. So John Mayer's Continuum. John Mayer gets a lot of flack and a lot of heat, but this album is flawless, front to back. It is one of the best albums I've ever heard. Every song is a banger. It is just such a rich, deep album. He hasn't really made anything comparable to this, in my opinion, but that album, hands down, just like so good. And then the other one is Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Absolutely incredible record. I'm a huge hip-hop fan, but that album just infuses hip-hop and pop in just such an amazing way. There isn't a bad song on it. I've listened to it thousands of times. I love that record. It's so good. Yeah, thanks for your questions, buddy. Okay, moving right along. This question is from my friends Rose and August in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Te extraño mucho. I love you guys. I love you so much. They write, what was your experience with Argentines culture or Latin America in general? I will tell you this. The Argentine people are the sweetest, most caring people that I've ever met. These two people in general became so close to me so quickly, and I still love them dearly. Latin America it's a gem. It really is. I love the culture in Mexico. I love the culture in Argentina, in Chile, in Peru, in Costa Rica. I love Latin culture. I really do. I'm so blessed by it. It's so rich and deep and steeped in, history, and, the Mayan culture is like so fascinating to me. The anthropology museum in Mexico City is like one of the greatest museums. It is the greatest museum I've ever been to, hands down. There's so much Mayan culture there, and exhibits, and it literally takes days to go through. Yeah, but Argentina, Buenos Aires has a huge place in my heart, and you guys have a huge place in my heart. And anybody that's listening to this, if you haven't been to Buenos Aires or Latin America, go to anywhere. You will love it. Any place. Brazil, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, just go. And stay away from the touristy spots, Josh B says, how did being a musician in your 20s hold you back or disrupt you from who you could have become had you not pursued it? This is a great question, Josh. It's easy to think that way. As I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, if I hadn't been in a band in my 20s and I had gone to college and I had done this, then maybe I would have a better job and a better career. But it's like, no, what I did in my 20s is the stuff that so many people that did the traditional path wish that they had done. And did it set me back? I don't know if it did. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have, worked at Red Rocks Amphitheater, and I wouldn't have been a tour manager, and I wouldn't have done a lot of these things that I think are really some of the things that I'm most proud of. Like being in Trigger Point is one of my proudest accomplishments. The things that we did in that band with my brothers in that band, I'm so proud of it. And yes, did it make it harder for me to have a more traditional life? Absolutely. But did I want that life? Sometimes I try to convince myself that I did or that I do, but I don't, I'm very happy with the path that I chose. And I hope that you and any other musician that went down that path is too and doesn't regret it, because pursuing that was the launching point of a really great life that I'm very proud of. Susie, what's up, Susie? One of my San Antonio familia. She writes, what would older Taylor tell younger Taylor? Yeah, I think I would just tell him, it gets so much better, buddy. Just keep doing your thing. Keep always moving forward, and the good stuff is where the fear is. Find what is scary and do that thing, because that is where the best things are. Love you, Susie. Thanks for the question. Victoria, what's up, Victoria? How you doing? She writes, what's the biggest surprise when producing your podcast that you didn't expect? And do not gripe about how hard social media is. I know I've talked about how hard social media is in so many of these episodes. Even looking back and editing these, I'm like, oh man, I was talking about the same stuff all the time. Don't worry, I'm getting better. I'm learning. We're trying to figure it out. The biggest surprise to me is that people are listening. Period. Like, I'm still blown away by it, and yeah, like, it's a very humbling thing to know that there are people listening to this right now, and you don't have to be. You could literally be doing anything else, but you're listening to this, and that's just super cool to me. It's also harder than I thought it would be, and I'm enjoying the difficulty in figuring out the problems for the most part. Are there any topics that are off limits when you're planning your podcast? So I do tell all of the guests beforehand that this is not a political podcast, and to refrain from bringing politics up if possible, not because I don't care about politics, but because there's just so many places where you can go and get that, and that's not what this is. This is for connecting on a human level and finding commonality with people, and finding out about the human experience. And like, if you want to get political, there are tons of places where you can go do that. This just isn't the place, and that's where I am. And it's not to be apolitical and blah blah blah. And I obviously am a very privileged person, and I understand that. But this podcast, I just don't want it to be political in any way, and so politics are off limits when talking on this podcast. And then Victoria has one more question, which was similar to Susie's question, but what are 3 things you'd tell your 25-year-old self to avoid some of the biggest heartaches or disappointments you've experienced in your life? Or would you not want to avoid them? I don't think I would want to avoid them. I'm not a big person that lives with regret or wants to change things. There's some things that I think I would change for sure, just like in hindsight, not showing up properly, or like, there's some people that I've hurt in the past in romantic relationships that like I could have done better. I could have been better. But I think I had to go through that process to realize that I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, hurting somebody else makes me realize, I don't want to be a hurtful person. I don't want to be the person that, somebody's like, hey, screw that guy. Like, he's a jerk, like, and then, I've had my heart broken many times. I don't think I would change anything about it, because heartbreak, I don't know. It's a part of life. Like, that's one of the human emotions that coincides with love. Like, we don't know what love is truly until we've had our heart broken. That's when you knew you really loved someone, and what a gift it is to really love someone and to be able to have the capacity to do that, Anyways, I hope that answers your questions. Thanks, Victoria. I appreciate you listening. Victoria also listens to, I think, all of the episodes. So thank you very much. And we got one more. Robin Wolf, one of my best friends, one of the people that I just shouted out earlier. She writes, who would you want to have as a guest on Who Cares? There's so many people that I want to have on as a guest on Who Cares, but I think the first name that popped into my head, if I had to choose, is Will Arnett. Just because, like, I listen to Smartless. I think he's hilarious. I love his sober journey. He talks about that very openly. He's one of my favorite, like, voices out there. So if I could get anyone, I would get him in here for sure. That would just be so fun. But yeah, I want so many people to sit in this chair next to me, and I'm looking forward to getting more this year. And then she asked me, what is your messiest moment? I always ask the guests about messy moments, as you know, so we'll end this episode on a messy moment for me, and it's going to coincide with what Victoria was asking about. So I've had a lot of messy moments, guys. I was an alcoholic for many years. I was in bands. I used to do cocaine in the Hollywood Hills and wake up in strangers' houses. And, I've done a lot of really wild stuff and dangerous stuff, and I've been arrested, and there's so many messy moments. So it's really hard for me to choose. But the thing that came to mind was I got absolutely my heart broken by a girl that I was dating a few years after I got sober, and I was convinced I was going to marry this girl. She was everything that I wanted, and like, she loved me, and then overnight she just didn't anymore. And it turns out she had like gotten back together with her ex-boyfriend, and they ended up getting married and having kids, and like it all happened the way that it was supposed to happen. But at that moment, I fell apart. Everything lost meaning for me. I lost confidence in myself. I thought everything was over, and I am so glad that it happened to me now. And that's one of the biggest like lessons that I got is like, in hindsight, in the heartbreak and the despair and the what am I going to do moment, a lot of huge things happened to me that then unfolded that if she had not done that, never would have happened. I never would have moved to Denver. I never would have been one of the managers at Red Rocks. I never would have become a professional tour manager. I would never have moved to Mexico and Argentina. There's so much that wouldn't have happened. And I'm not saying that maybe the alternative life wouldn't have been as good, but I think it wouldn't have been as good. And so it was a huge teaching moment for me that like, you can get completely wrecked and have the rug completely pulled out from under you, and everything can seem hopeless. But what that really is like the beginning of something even better. And I've actually thought about that a lot this year, because this year's been so hard. And I'm like, remember that one time when everything seemed bleak, and then all of a sudden the door opened and everything got better, you know? And so that is the big lesson for me, is like, when you're in it, you can't really realize where exactly you are, and hindsight is 20/20, but that's such an important lesson for me then and now, like carrying me through this most recent darkness. It is what was meant to happen, and what was meant to happen for her. I ran into her at the airport for the first time since we broke up, like 10 years ago or something like that. Randomly, we run into each other at the airport, and she's married and she has 2 beautiful kids, and she's super happy, and she's still with the guy, and I remember seeing her in the airport and just having a really nice chat with her and thinking, thank God that she broke up with me and that we're not together, because she has this other life and I have this other life, and we are both very happy with those lives. So yeah, that is it. Boom. We did it. That's the solo episode of Who Cares? Feels super weird to just have rambled nonstop for an hour. Hopefully you got something out of this. Let me know. Send me feedback. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we won't. But thank you so much for submitting your questions, for listening, for tuning in, for sharing, for liking, for all of it. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. I want you to have the best year ever. We'll see you next time. Bye.